Hello everyone. I'm looking forward to this recipe. I have not tasted this since I was a young boy growing up in Puerto Rico. I made a bowl of Arroz Con Carne Molida, which translated to English means rice with ground beef, Puerto Rican style. Here's what we're dealing with. That looks delicious. It's just finished cooking. Oh my goodness. This is delicious. This is really, really good. It's really hot too. I couldn't wait for it to cool down. I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I usually end with a long ending, and I'm trying to keep these videos short. YouTube does a great job of showing the analytics and the data, and I'm trying to. What the data is showing me is that my videos are too long based on the percentage views. So I'm trying to keep these short and to the point. So I'm not going to have a big prolonged ending. But I'd like to say right up front, I appreciate you watching this video. Trust me, you will not be disappointed if you make this recipe. It is delicious. And I trust me, if you live in Canada or the continental US or anywhere else in the world and you haven't had Puerto Rican cuisine, you will love this. This is delicious. I'd like to thank you right up front for watching the video. And I'd encourage you to like it. If you're watching and this is something that you like, please hit that like button. And also, please consider subscribing. There's a little button about right here that you can click on and subscribe. So let's get right to the recipe.
Okay, folks, let's get right to it. I'm going to drop the ingredients right here so that you can see them. Let's go through them. We have 1 pound of ground beef, and then I have 1 small can of tomato sauce. I'm using 1 green pepper and 1 onion that I've diced up, and then I have 2 cloves of garlic that I've minced. Beside that, I have my Goya seasoning. I'm going to use 1 teaspoon of the adobo. And then I have a packet of Sazón by Goya. If you find those in the store, buy them. For my spices, I have a half a teaspoon of cumin, a pinch of pepper, and 2 teaspoons of oregano. Now, for the rice, you can use medium grain, long grain, short grain, or you can be like me and I'm using Arborio. If you use any other rice but Arborio, I suggest you rinse it first. That's why I have the strainer there just for illustration, but you don't need to rinse the Arborio rice. You want that creamy texture in it that Arborio brings. Now it calls for 2 cups of water. I don't like putting plain water in. I want to jazz it up, so I'm adding 2 teaspoons of chicken stock, OXO to be specific. And then I have my sofrito. So I have a 1/4 cup of sofrito. I'm going to drop the link to the recipe below. That is delicious. It's basically garlic, green pepper, red pepper, and cilantro that's blended up and frozen in ice cubes. And then I just pop any of those in any of my dishes that I want to jazz up. So let's get right to this. I'll get that stove fired up and I'll bring you in to have a look as we get started. Okay, folks, so we have the stove turned on. I have that set to medium, as you can see by the knob there. And now I'm going to dump the veggies into there. So the onions and the garlic and the green peppers and start getting those heated up. And we're going to cook these for a bit. We don't want to cook them until they're totally translucent. I'd say about 2 or 3 minutes in total. Give those a good stir. And while I'm stirring that, I'll let you know, I'm sorry that you can't hear the sound. I forgot to turn my mic on again, so I'm overdubbing this. I didn't want to throw this whole video away because that recipe turned out so good. I don't want to waste it. The mic will come back on later on. So I'm going to grab the sofrito and we're going to add that into there because we want to get that sofrito started and get those flavors blending in. You want to get that garlic and the onions and the cilantro and the peppers all roasted up and imparting all of that flavor into these onions and stuff as they cook. So I'm going to give those a stir, and we're going to let those cook until they just start to turn translucent. They don't have to be all the way. And then we're going to come back and show you what the next steps are. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, so now we're ready to add the ground beef. As you can see, they're not totally transparent or translucent. So we're going to put the ground beef in. This is when I like to add the salt. So I'm going to put a couple pinches of salt over top of the ground beef. Then I'm going to get my trusted spatula out, and we're going to start chopping that beef up, getting it incorporated and broken down and mixed in there with the rest of the veggies. And we're going to finish that cook off, but you don't have to worry about cooking that completely because it's still got another 20 minutes that it's going to have to cook afterwards. So I'll bring you back as we start the next steps. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, the beef is just about cooked, so now I'm going to dump the seasonings in that I set aside, grab my adobo, and sprinkle about a teaspoon in there, and then let's get that Sazón packet and get that ready to put in. And again, as I said, if you see these in the store, grab them. They are delicious in any recipe, especially rice. So once you have those all in, just give them a good stir. Make sure that everything's all mixed up and blended well. And then we're going to put the tomato sauce in. Again, same routine. We're going to blend those up, get them all mixed, and then we're going to want to incorporate the rice into this. I like to put the rice in here so that it can absorb all of those flavors into the rice before we start watering it down. Get those stirred up and mixed in there very well before we go and grab the water with the OXO. And it's up to you. If you want to use plain water, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's get that water and OXO incorporated into there. Stir it up. Very nice. Now I've turned the heat up, and what we want is to get that so it's just starting to come to a boil. And then we're going to put the lid on it and let it cook for about 20 minutes. Stay tuned. I'll bring you back when we start the next step. Hey folks, so this is what I meant when I said we just want it to start to come to a boil. When you start to see those bubbles forming, now we're ready to turn the heat down. So I'm going to give it one final good stir, and then I'm going to put the lid on it, and then I'm going to turn that heat down to low. We don't want that rice burning and sticking to the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to leave this cook for 20 minutes. I know the rice will be done then. And we're not just going to leave it and forget about it. Every 5 minutes, I'm going to give it a stir. But you don't want to overdo it. You don't have to be sitting there hovering over the stove. About every 5 minutes, bring the spatula out, make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom of the pan, and get everything stirred up. So I'll bring you back for the first stir. Stay tuned.
Okay, folks, 5 minutes is up. I like to use a spatula when I'm stirring because I want to get everything that's on the bottom and bring it up. And just stir that all in. Let's put the lid back on it. And you can see that that liquid's starting to get absorbed there by the rice now. Ouch. Sorry for that loud noise. We'll put that back on, and I'll tell you, this is going to be delicious. I can hardly wait. Stay tuned. I'll bring you back when it's done. Okay, folks, our 20 minutes is up. So we're going to crack that lid. And look at what we're dealing with, folks. Doesn't that look delicious? Oh yeah, that rice is nice and soft. All of the liquid's absorbed, just enough to make it nice and juicy. Now I'm going to turn that off and let it sit for 5 minutes because it's going to cook even further. Even though the stove is off, it's still hot. So we're going to let that, I've only cooked that for 20 minutes. I'm going to leave that there, and then I'm going to pour a bowl and show you what it looks like. You've already seen how it tastes at the beginning, so we'll end it with the bowl coming up next.
So here's the finished product, folks. Arroz con carne molida. I can tell you this is going to be delicious. My kitchen smells like Puerto Rico right now, and it reminds me of my childhood. I'm in heaven. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Try this out. I'd encourage you to try it. It took less than 10 minutes to show you how to make this. Thank you very much for watching. Jamie, signing off.